Jam. And right now, we already implemented everything on milestone 1, except for those things that are maybe going to change until the release of 1.0. So we are catching up with the test vectors. And we already started M2 implementing parts of the second milestone, like block production, and also the networking and like node long running service as a node, instead of just like processing inputs and outputs from state transition functions. So basically, this is our progress right now.
Great, thank you, Daniel. Sirap, you wanna ask question or proceed?
Proceed, sure. Yeah. I lead Colorful Notion along with Michael in California. We are a team of 6 folks, and we passed all the test vectors are out there, and I guess we met a lot of you at in Bangkok at Jam Zero, which I guess we sponsored like the week, and for a week of food, and along with some of the other guys out there. And yeah, we have some test vectors of our own that we want to share, and I don't need 15 minutes times 4 from on the agenda, but I'll talk about it after the intros. And we are also excited about doing Jam services, eating the dog food, so to speak, Jam services that use the amazing powers of Jam. And we're eager to figure out how to collaborate with others on making something useful out of this beyond the start of Jam services that Gab's cooking up. That's me.
Great, thank you. Jimmy was first. Go ahead.
Sure, thank you. I'm Jimmy Johnson. I'm on the Gossamer team, which is part of ChainSafe Systems. We do various protocol development work. Currently, we have, I think, around 8 people. Someone on my team, correct me if I'm wrong, 8 or so people on our team. Maybe 7 now. I don't, around there. Most of our time currently is being spent on the current Gossamer, which is a Polkadot host. And we're working to meet our objectives for the Polkadot host. However, we've also started working on Jam, which is what I'm on. We're not quite as far ahead as the other 2 updates are, but we're getting close to passing the test vectors, but a couple more still to figure out. I'm currently working, specifically, I'm working on the guarantees, a part of the pending reports test vectors right now. So chugging along on that. And we've also started just getting the ball rolling initially of researching what a Go Jam SDK could look like. And so that's also something we're interested in exploring. And so, yeah, that's me, and that's the Gossamer team.
Thank you, Jimmy. And the next one, I'm sorry, I can read the name sometimes wrongly. Arjan.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we're here. I'm here with Matthijs from the Pajamas team, the Python implementation. I think more of you know Emil Sebastian. He was also in Bangkok, and unfortunately he couldn't make it. I recognize a few of you from the meetup in Lisbon. Yeah, at the moment we're covering almost all of the state transition functions, and currently we are working to integrate our PVM implementation with those transition functions. So we're currently working on the host functions. We expect to finish milestone 1 within reasonable time. And we also did some work on the milestone 2. So the block production and like networking, that kind of stuff. That's basically our status.
Thank you, Arjan. Great to hear about it. And the next one was Bernardo, if I'm not mistaken.
Hello, everyone. I'm Bernard. I'm from Valencia, Spain, and currently I'm the only developer of GameWorld. A little bit about me. I'm 32 years old. I'm electronic engineer, and I work on embedded systems. So I implement Jam in my free time. I didn't work on blockchain technology until the beginning of last year, when I started to run my own Ethereum validator nodes. In June last year, I heard about Jam, and after some research about it, I decided to implement it. Until now, I have been focused on the implementation of the state transition function, and I'm able to pass all available test vectors in coded format. And now I'm starting to work in the PVM, which I have only implemented a few instructions. So I still have a lot of work to do in the virtual machine. And finally, I would like to thank all those who are doing development tools and tests. And that's all. I hope to meet you in the next meeting, maybe in Portugal, and I hope we can visit the toaster. Thank you.
Thank you, Bernardo. Which language are you using?
Rust.
Okay, thank you. So the next one was Camille.
Okay, hey. Hi everyone, nice to see you all. Yeah, I think I was in the first part of Jam Zero event in Bangkok. Yeah, unfortunately couldn't stay there until the last day. So yeah, we are Code Review, so we're working on C++ implementation of Jam, which is called Morum, or TPP Jam, or whatever you can call it. Yeah, so in parallel, we're working on Kagome project, which is implementation of C++, implementation for Polkadot in C++. So we have around eight people, and they're constantly switching from Morum to Kagome. Also, we're maintaining C++ LP2P library, so it's quite a challenge to catch up with everything. Nonetheless, yeah, for Jam implementation, yeah, we managed to implement, I think, all the necessary tests for milestone 1, maybe with exceptions for reports and assurances. So we have this test. Now we are assembling the node itself, kind of taking into account our experience that we had with Kagome and also with some other protocol implementations that we did in the past. Want to be really careful here because, like, you want to have like modular architecture, take care of kind of multi-threaded environment execution. So yeah, kind of getting started there. So yeah, that's us. Thanks.
Cool, thank you, Camille. So the next one was Boymas.
Hello, everybody. I represent the Jam Zig team. That's another team from the Netherlands. I actually implemented everything for milestone 1 at the moment. And I'm working essentially on the block production process, in which I produce blocks for the Safol network. And I'm actually like cleaning up and polishing the PVM implementation.
Oh, nice. Can you please write down the name? I want to hear it properly. Of the team, of the client.
It's Jam Zig.
Jam Zig. Okay.
Yeah, Jam Zig.
I assume it's written with Zig.
Yes. That's correct.
Great. Thank you. And the next one was Tomek.
Hi guys, I hope my connection is going to be stable enough, so please bear with me. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Fluffy Labs team. We have a TypeScript implementation called Typeberry. We've been kind of randomly exploring things from milestones 1, milestones 2, milestones 3. Like we are not so focused on getting the test vectors done. However, from the ones that are published now, we are passing most of them. We have a bunch of networking protocols implemented as well. And as you might also know, we are working a little bit on the tooling side. And recently we are migrating the PVM implementations and the PVM debugger tool to support 0.5 for Gray Paper.
Cool, thank you, Tomek. So the next one is Sergey Astapov.
Hello, it's me. Hi guys. I'm from the Gem4S. Gem4S means Gem for Scala. So we are a team of 4 developers. We are doing Gem. It's like a number 4. F. Please remove F. Gem FS. Yeah. Okay. We are a team of 4 developers. So we are doing this project in our free time. So yes, currently probably I think we achieved maybe 80% of milestone 1. Yes, so we have a running node. Also, node has integration with the Quick protocol, so our node can communicate with the REST through the Quick protocol. Also, we have started implementing GemNP protocol. So currently, we support several commands like C128, 129, etc. Okay, so we already implemented all these tries for storage, assurance, guarantees. Also, our PVM virtual machine is in progress. Mostly it's done. What is missing is the calling host functions. So we are doing this. And what else? I think also the missing part, currently we are trying to integrate all components inside our Gem4S all together in running node. And it's actually mostly, that's it from our side.
Great, thank you, Sergey. So no more raised hands. Anyone else maybe want to speak up? Oh, yeah, I see Juna.
Hi guys,
Hey.
I'm Junhao Park, working on a RJAM Rust implementation. Mostly done with milestone 1. I think there are like 4 or 5 test cases that has a different output than I expected. So those are unsolved yet. But currently I'm working on putting the state transition functions together into standalone node binary. And then after that, I think within like 1 or 2 months, I can start working on the erasure coding, DA, and the networking stuffs. Yeah, that's it.
Great, thank you. So, and we also have Oliver.
Yeah, I'm Oliver. I'm working on the Gray Matter client. And let me see, did you spell it correctly? Gray Matter. Yeah. Thanks. So yeah, we are pretty much well, I guess it's 80-20, so we are also about at 80% of M1, but yeah, we are like fixing up stuff in the PVM and then still catching up with Gray Paper changes, so it's probably difficult to say exactly. Yeah, I was working on network stack things now, mostly so that we can join a testnet eventually and then compare our M1 work to see that we are doing the SDF correctly. Yeah, the networking stuff has taken more time than expected. But we're still like aiming for M1 not too long after Yes, thanks. Not too long after, yeah, the gray paper would be finalized. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Oliver. Is this Alex here, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So is there anyone else?
Oh, but it's spelled with an A, like gray matter. Sorry.
Ah, okay, it's like a gray paper.
In matter.
Yeah,
with
exactly.
With an A also. Yeah.
Oh yeah, right. I didn't read it.
Matter, like this.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Too complicated. Yeah.
So this gives us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 teams are participating in this call. This is super nice. Oh, I see one more raised hand, Rahid. Go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Hey.
So, myself, Rohit. Am I audible?
We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. I'm working on Zig implementation. So looking at the progress of others, I'm definitely not there. I'm around 40-50% of milestone 1, and working towards the goal. That's it.
Great, thank you. Thank you very much. It's 12 clients then here. Cool. That's a
And
lot.
a couple teams sent updated spelling on the names in the chat. Also,
Oh, sorry, yeah. Which one? Let me see. Okay, pajamas. I see, I'm sorry. And Fluffy Labs, Strawberry. I also see Luke raising his hand. Please go ahead. Yeah, Luke, you can go ahead. You can unmute yourself.
Hi there, everybody. I think I met some of you in Bangkok. Yeah, I'm still struggling with the networking on milestone 1, so probably well behind the pack, but still chugging along. And great to see some good progress from the other teams. So look out, I'll be catching up soon.
Cool, thank you. What is the name of the team? I forget.
Clawbird.
Client.
Like clawbird, a claw with a bird.
Okay. Clawbit. Cool. Which Cloudbird. Okay. Which language?
It's in TypeScript at the moment. It's supposed to be in Rust, but I've migrated to TypeScript in the meantime.
Great. So this gives us 13 teams. That's huge. So if nobody else wanna introduce a new team, then I guess we can now slightly move to our next topic that we already slightly start discussing in Element channel, is about our second meetup in Lisbon. So I guess, Daniel, if you want to say something about this.
You're muted.
Hi, sorry. So the initial idea was to make this event on March, but I think it will be better to make it on April and May, so it takes more time for people to organize themselves. And I'm also hardly trying to find a way to discover Gab's schedule so we can make the event while he's here. I already sent him some messages, and also to their secretary. I sent 2 days ago. I sent an email to the secretary. They still didn't respond. But the idea is to take his schedule, and then based on what he has available, we give 2 or 3 options for the community, and then everybody decides the best moment. We are going to have Ethereum Lisbon in May also. So I think it's a good timing trying to like collocate the event. From, if I'm not wrong, Ethereum Lisbon.
It's 7 till
Yeah,
9
it's
May.
7 May. So we could do it before, right before Ethereum Lisbon, or just after. I don't think I'm actually I live in Lisbon, so for me it's the more convenient place, and I'm happy to organize everything. Eventually get some funding from the events bounty to make things a little bit more fancy for us. So the idea is the timeline would be like decide the date, and probably we are going to make it near Cascais, which is not Lisbon. It's more like a beach side, but it's 20-25 minutes from Lisbon, so very, very close. And people can still stay in Lisbon if they want. But the idea would be to stay there, more focused on the Gem event, and also be close to the Gem Toaster, because the Gem Toaster is being built there. And I'm trying to find a way for us to make a tour to the Gem Toaster, everybody, so make something really cool. And initially, the idea was to make a 3 days event, no more than 3 days, because less than 3 is not worth for people to come from far away, and more than this is not that productive. So what I thought initially was to make the event 2 days just for implementers, and make a 3rd day open to community, to Polkadot community, so anyone could come, and then we could I could help to organize the agenda, so for what would be shared or discussed or done during the first 2 days, which would be more like we work with each other. And then the 3rd day would be something like we as a community sharing with the broader Polkadot what we've done, or sharing some knowledge, or giving some talks, or things like that. These are my ideas. I'm pretty open. We have, for those who are not in this, there's a specific Gem Zero chat room in Matrix. So this is where we could usually talk about the event. So if anyone didn't join yet this chat, everybody is invited to do it so, and we are pretty open to ideas and feedback from this initial draft.
I'm gonna drop the channel link into the Google chat for this call, and also I'm gonna put it into the FAQMG file. Thank you, Daniel. I super love this idea. That probably would be nice if we can maybe make a couple first days of like working together, how it's done in Bangkok, you know, when people are working on the networking and stuff. And then the last day we totally can make more of like talks, you know, like maybe people would like to talk on some specific topics, because although maybe like the first milestone of Gem is not that much of an interest for many people, but we still have like 2nd, 3rd, and 4th and 5th milestone ahead. And the 2nd milestone is where all the interesting parts are starting, right? It's networking, it's consensus. And so I believe those are a lot of interesting topics we can talk about, not only for implementers, but also for wider community. Cool. I'm leaving the...
And especially if it does end up being around the ETH Lisbon time, we might be able to tap into their audience to get some community to come through too. Like if people are there already.
So there is a
that
question from
that can work well when it's like close by, you know, unless it's like in Brussels where it's, you know, like 2 kilometers or further, then people normally or maybe don't bother. But if it's like, if I don't know, I mean, I think on the ETH Lisbon they didn't reveal the venue yet, so we can't really say if it will be close by or not.
And I guess we would need to find a venue, right, Daniel?
Yes, we still don't know the venue. but the idea would be probably making to a hotel or a conference hotel close to Cascais, which is somewhere that we could eventually stay there in the hotel. But at the same time, if anyone wants to stay in other places like cheaper options, there are also plenty of them around Cascais. Or even a little bit closer to Lisbon, which is even cheaper, and you can take there's a train that you can take from other places to Cascais. It's a direct train, very easy to reach there also.
Cool, thank you. I guess I will drop you the message, so if you need, I can help you with somewhat of organizational questions. Okay, anyone has any questions regarding the meetup or ideas or propositions, how we can shape it? So Deep? I'm sorry. I'm sometimes probably maybe pronouncing your name wrong because it's Sirap or.
Oh, Sirap, yeah. Oh,
Sirap,
I was just saying that are there other folks in Lisbon besides Daniel who want to help him? If I were in Lisbon, I would try to help, but I think I'm too remote. Or Daniel, do you want to do this all yourself in terms of coordinating the event?
No, of course, I'm really open to anyone who could help. Of course, I think Kian from the Gossamer team. Gossamer, no,
he's not.
Grey Matter team. Yeah. He lives here in Lisbon. Also, I have the help of the Parity office manager, Soraya. So she helped me with the Jam meetup that we did last year, and she's very open to help as well. But of course, every help is very welcome. Of course, the more help we have, the better the event will be. I'm not an event organizer, definitely. So I'm just trying to do my best with the resources that I have.
Whatever.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sirap.
Yeah, I thought that I think whatever we did last time in Bangkok was a little too long for people, so we had people showing up at this day and that day. So I think the 3-day judgment is great, and it's just a question of whether you do it before or after, and we'll just have to see how the schedules align with everybody. So I think it's good judgment. I think the hotel type arrangement was great, and I thought the Sub-Zero event was kind of hot and bothered a little bit. So I prefer the hotel arrangement if it's possible. Would be my advice. And then the Jam Toaster tour would be inspiring. I think that's great.
Yeah, I think my idea is to try to get some learnings from the Jam Zero in Bangkok. So one thing that I think didn't work so well that I would try to make it this time is to have a more pre-defined schedule for us to do some activities in a coordinated time, because it was so loose the way we did it. It worked, but at the same time, because we have a lot of time and not so much scheduled things, it became a little bit not so coordinated. So I think we could improve on this. And the idea is like to create something more, okay, from this time to this time, we're gonna have like more specific things, the talk, someone. So I would try to put up the agenda a little bit more structured, the way I did in the Jam meetup here in Lisbon, which was a meetup or like 3-4 hours, but it can be done for 2 days. So this is more or less the idea that I have. And we can mix it between activities that will be like more, let's say, individual activities where people meet with each other, some dynamics or some things that we can interact with each other, with things more passive that we watch, some talk or like go together to, and some like enjoyable moments where we have dinner or lunch or things together, and also go visit the Jam Toaster, eventually go to the beach, do some surfing, whatever.
Shred the gnar.
That sounds amazing, huh?
And why not set up a real jam with maybe drums and bass and guitar and maybe play some music.
Camille?
Yeah, just want to say really short. Yeah, for me personally, it would be very challenging to come to Lisbon because it's a Schengen visa and so on. But yeah, I'm not recommending to change the location, but maybe for future event, if you consider something like, I don't know, Dubai or some other place, or Southeast Asia is great, yeah, please do that. Then it would be much easier. Yeah, thanks.
Sure. I guess it will be like with the DEFCON, we will be just jumping from area to area. I guess the first Gem Zero, the main problem was that it was a huge event just, in front of us, and so many people get distracted by this. So I believe in Lisbon, we should be doing after the at Lisbon, so people were like, or before, it depends. So doing this during is distracting people. They probably want to visit some of the talks. Okay, so we have some other topics to discuss, but in the same time, there was a question from Sergey regarding the milestones. I assume they might not be clear, and I probably want to ask Jimmy, maybe if you can share your screen with the milestones and talk a little bit to people, because you, as a person developing also Gossamer right now, you know what's kind of expect everyone on the second milestone, on the first, you also developed the first milestone, and so you can maybe talk a little bit about, because there is no proper description for that in Gem. Yeah.
Well, I think they're, I need, share now. Give me just a second here to make sure I'm, okay. You guys see the infinity? Okay. We sent this, the milestones are highlighted here. It's just the path to implementation, and these are the different milestones. I think it's kind of, I guess I can elaborate a little bit on it. So milestone 1, what we're all working on, and I imagine we know what it entails, is just purely the state transition function, right? So being able to take in a block, import it, and get the correct state and the correct state root calculation after. The second is block author, which like we alluded to earlier, is at least I imagine is quite a big jump from the first milestone. That's everything: networking, consensus, block production, all the DA layer and auditing, and all these sort of off-chain systems that are going on. The more like getting into the distributed systems, actual blockchain engineering part of building a blockchain client. And after that, it's like mostly just optimizations, right? Like it's number 3 is half. I mean, it kind of describes itself, right? So like you have to get the full basic functionality for milestone 2. Then milestone 3 is getting it to half speed for conformance. It described itself as Kusama level performance, which also includes VM optimizations, and making sure that your PVM implementation is up to speed. The 4th milestone is full speed. So this is exactly what it sounds like, right? Like you need to pass conformance tests and be performant enough to perform as like a primary client in a network. And then the 5th would just be going through the audit process. So once you get through, you have a fully working client that's fully up to speed, you go through the audits to make sure it's all secure. Nothing too crazy there. This is the section that describes the milestones. You can click here, and there's all the rules that I really don't want to go over, but they're there. I don't know. Anything else or anything I missed?
Well, thank you very much. So I just want to say that from my perception, if we can see the milestone 1 is like somewhat linear, I would say complexity of implement, then with the milestone 2 it just goes super exponentially, and then from the 3rd milestone is basically all the optimizations. So I guess I can recommend people to start already investing time looking into the 2nd milestone. That would be the most hard part, obviously. Okay, I hope it answers.
I would say I agree.
Right, we're gonna share the agenda one more time. And And so we have the next topic is from Syrup. Wanted to talk about community text vectors.
Sure. I don't think I need 45 minutes to go through these three things, but I'll just go over them briefly. So I for each of these topics, I'll just touch on them briefly. We have like a couple of things where we think we can help everyone, or you guys can help us put together some community test vectors. The first one is that if you click on the STFs, I don't know where you're going to end up if you click on that. Can you give it a shot?
Oh yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Sure.
Is that it? All right. So this is the issue. So if you go, all right. Actually, let me drive. Hold on 1 second.
You can share the screen, right? If you wish.
Yeah. All right. Fine. Let me just do it this way. Here. Do I have sharing rights? Yes. Can you see my screen?
Yep, you're all good.
Okay, cool. So we've been publishing for the last month or two a set of state transitions for like a couple of modes, and this is following through on what Oliver and a couple other guys at the Jam Zero event suggested we do. Like, let's start with a really simple data set, followed by a little more complicated one, by a little more complicated one still. So we have 4 data sets, and I tried to describe it, and this is just an advertisement if you guys want to take a look. These are not official. These are not Web3 Foundation test vectors. So this is us outputting a bunch of state transitions and blocks, which are basically contained in the state transitions. If you look inside, you'll see that each of these 4 and maybe others we could do together, they have increasing complexity of the kinds of things that happen within the blocks. So fallback doesn't have any extrinsics. Saffrel, the data set here of state transitions, has tickets and go beyond fallback. And then these are our attempts in the 2 following ones to model pretty much the 3 other extrinsics and do some of the more complicated things out there, like ordered accumulation. We already have got a lot of good feedback from many of you in terms of finding bugs in our attempt to generate all of these data sets. And if you guys have a similar, if all of you can publish data sets in a similar fashion, we can probably import them, just like we can import our own, obviously. And it would be awesome if we could have a standard of us sharing state transition vectors. That would be awesome, so that we can then fuzz the various pieces of it to generate not just valid state transitions, but invalid ones. And Michael, who can speak to this in a little bit, can explain what he's done on fuzzing. So what we've also done is taken these state transitions, like the entire data set of whatever these four traces and a few others, and said, okay, if you just mutate the block a little bit, you can capture the errors that are inside mostly Ghaleesi's STFs. So I'm kind of what I was kind of hoping for, which didn't happen, is some of you guys could publish some of these state transitions. So I didn't want to have this to be for us to be the only sort of generator of this. So if you want to fork this and generate your own data set, maybe we can have a pile of different state transition vectors, which can all be fuzzed by the import blocks CLI. So this is an idea that we sort of converged on after getting, I guess, Oliver and Brian and other people's feedback. You can look at this. This is sort of not just planned, but under development by mostly Michael right now. So the idea is that we can take a binary of ours, and you guys can do all the same thing. Everybody can do the same thing. Publish a Docker container, not of like a running implementation of Jam, but instead something which takes a pile of these tests of state transitions and then mutates them a little bit and then sends it to your to your endpoint, and then you can test your implementation correctness on both valid blocks, valid state transitions, as well as invalid ones, starting with HTTP in like an M1 kind of way, and then maybe if we get more sophisticated with quick implementations in all our languages with M2, send these send these blocks to your endpoint following one of the CEs. I forgot which number. So this is something which we have a spec for. We're actively producing this for ourselves, and I think what's awesome that we already got some feedback on these test vectors here. And we are and recently this week, one of our team members, they also published a host function test vector data set. This is something William and our group came up with, and I encourage all of you to take a look at this. This goes beyond the PVM instruction opcodes. So I think there's like 23 or so host function things in here, and this covers like 19 or so of them. And it covers both like the normal behavior with like an OK, as well as attempts to reach many of the other non-OK error codes in ways that may help you guys. So this is very fresh, and I think no one's really tried it out yet. You're welcome to test it out. Whereas this one has been slightly battle tested by at least 4 or 5 different groups who have given us some feedback. And we'd welcome your feedback. It helps us make our implementation stronger. And any feedback you give on ours, we would share it right back within like a week or two. And we hope that other people will both try to do something like this, so we can have a whole bunch of sources, as well as other traces, and maybe give us feedback on host functions. So I don't know if we should be generating more and more community test vectors, because Galisi and company are working are a little bit overworked trying to match all our questions, or whether we should just sort of consider this a temporary thing. But yeah, welcome everyone's feedback on all of these community test vectors, and love ideas about how we can be more collaborative on other test vectors data sets. Yep. That's it. That's what I would talk about. So you guys, if you have other ideas about what could be useful for the community, I don't think I'm going to go any debugging on here, but yeah, either in the Jam Zero Matrix room or in the Telegram room, would love to chat about that. And the other thing that sort of happened with that we didn't really talk about is, I think Oliver, who has led the docs I don't know what you call it, Jam Chain site. I think that would be good for all of us as a group to sort of put ideas that belong to the community. And I started that based on, I guess, Oliver's advice. And if we can continue with that, I think Oliver, you can tell us what other things might be useful. But that would be a good group topic for us to kind of converge on other things that we could do. And community test vectors would be sort of one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for the test vectors. We tried them out, like I think a month ago or something. And yeah, I mean, we only parsed, like that was our first concern, to just parse everything. I think the state pretty much parses now, and the blocks also parse. It's just sometimes difficult because we are on a slightly different gray paper version, and then you kind of have to diff it out. Yeah, I think that's currently the most annoying part for community test vectors, is that's probably everyone is on a slightly different version. Or I mean, I can't tell, but I assume. So if you wanna, test something, then it will probably not work, and you're confused why. So hopefully that would even itself out with the gray paper stabilizing. Yeah, otherwise I think it's a very good initiative. Thanks for it. I mean, we would do more of this. It's just we're pretty understaffed doing this in free time. So I mean, I would like to check if everything, if the SDF works and if the hashes match the state root hashes. But yeah, I don't really have the time to do it. But yeah, I think it's something that we would eventually have to do before submitting our milestones. Just, I mean, of course, we still want to join testnet or whatever before doing that as well. Yeah, so from our side, it's just it's very good, but we are not there yet. Yeah, with the docs side, I think just anything that's like between teams that needs to be. I'm gonna paste the link in here. It just needs to be shared between teams, like these these chain specs is like a very easy one, and the dev accounts. You know, like if you just want to copy paste the public key of a dev account, you can do it there. You know, I think it's just supposed to help developers and teams collab. Besides that, I'm not sure what much needs to be added. I mean, when we do networking, we will probably have some CLIs to test it and maybe some tutorials how to debug your stuff. Besides that, I don't know.
So for us, so what we've done so far, since there's been an enormous number of things that happen in between, like 0.3 and 0.5. So the 64-bit opcode change was like a lot of stuff changing, and then every single time there's a new opcode, everything shifts a little bit, you know, in numbers and all that. So what you do see on is our attempt to be 64-bit compatible, even though Jan has not updated all the PVMs. Another member of the group, they published it. We can talk about that. But then there was like 10 or 12 that were not quite covered. And so it does attempt a 64-bit, and it is 5.4 compatible. So and I think there will be a forecast. There's a 5.5 that's going to have, I don't know, fetch or something like that. And so I think we'll have the opcode shift again. But yeah, we'll do our best to try to be clear about where we are in the which version we're compatible with, and with the Fluffy Labs gray paper thing, we can be super precise about every single thing there is in every single version. So we'll do our best on that front.
Thank you, Sirap. I saw Daniel had a question about the quick implementation. Daniel, maybe.
Yeah, I was just wondering if the gem import blocks is actually implementing the GemNP specification as it is, because we are like working on it, almost done, so we can start using that if your implementation is actually following the protocol that is there, which is not the great paper version of it, but I assume that Gav would take most of the ideas from there, so not so much will change in future.
Yeah. So I think when we first started talking about it, I thought, hey, we could do Docker Compose, and everyone would have a GemNP compatible implementation. So I think the style that I guess Oliver and Brian kind of converged towards, like, let's just do state transition function testing, which doesn't require any of the quick complexity. And so you could just do HTTP. You know, here's a JSON representation of pre-state and the block and the post-state, which is basically very close to most of the M1 test vector, as far as we know. So I think that was the aha moment. We should keep it simple by having the minimal import blocks and not add the complexity of quick at the early stages, and just go in baby steps. But of course, when we generated our 4 data sets, and we can generate more and more, we of course are doing quick to have v equals 6 tiny do all this communication. And so we have a quick implementation to generate the data set, but the import blocks idea is not to say, let's do v-1 on hours, and then have somebody else do the remaining node out of v nodes, because that was sort of too complicated seeming at the end, and requires too much quick debugging, and it sort of moves people into M2 considerations unnecessarily. So I thought that was a good judgment call technically. So I think for our import block CLI idea, sorry if we need to update this a little bit, but it's just to do STF testing, which I think will be helpful. And if there for that -- quick, we're not aiming for that right away. And we hope other people, if you guys are, if anybody's ready to write the same thing, we hope that whatever we publish, somebody else can publish. And in our heads, that is kind of proof that we are capable of passing M1 by publishing that Docker container. So if we have 2 or 3 guys who do conform to that import block CLI tool, that would be awesome for the whole Jam implementer community. Does anybody else want to also do import blocks Docker publishing along these lines? That's my question to everyone.
I mean, I would say we're interested, but I currently fall into like kind of more what Oliver was saying, where there's other stuff I'm working on right now where I gotta get there a little bit, and then I'll be more than happy to chip in wherever I can.
Okay. So if
So
anybody,
yeah, not quite there yet for
if
Gossamer.
anybody has an idea, please reach out. I didn't want to be the only group suggesting community test vectors or utilities. Another topic that we had, which is on the agenda, is like doing telemetry stuff, and we didn't cover that because we are also busy doing other things. And so if anybody has ideas on telemetry, we're probably not going to get to it. It's kind of an M3-ish idea, so that's kind of like out there. And the other thing that is also on the bit of agenda is chain specs. And we kind of took whatever Oliver put as a quick template and filled in some values. But we only are attempting in practice to do tiny, not whatever small, medium, and extra large and so forth. But we are now kind of ready to break out of the V equals 6 tiny chain spec. And I don't know whether there's other people who are like, yeah, we're ready to get out of tiny into small and medium and have some better values. I didn't really have, I just put some placeholder values there and put it in the sheet, but I don't think, I think that probably whoever's trying to go from tiny to small may have better suggestions than whatever we came up with. Has anybody already worked on this non-tiny setup somewhere? No one? Anybody?
No, we don't have Brian here. Maybe he did, but he tweeted about having a computer with 128 gigs for a bigger local setup. So I don't know, maybe, but not us for sure.
Anyone else? Okay. So we had a lot of we were surprised how much work there was just for, I think that the parameters R, that I think R went to 4, and then we were like, oh wow, this is actually a lot of work to manage all the core rotation. So I think in tiny it was 4, and there were a couple of other parameters that we changed for tiny. So for tiny alone, if anybody has alternate choices for tiny that would be useful to converge on, that would be valuable because all of us are doing tiny. So we published what we thought we should publish for tiny. So for tiny, there are some choices that we made. I think Oliver, you suggested a couple, and then I think the place to publish what choices we make for tiny and others should be the docs.jamchain website. Are there any wish lists for community test vectors beyond whatever we're doing? Like, what test vectors do you think we should be publishing given the state of test vectors from the Web3 Foundation?
So I think from my perspective, the block parsing and STF and state root hash are the most like complete ones. You know, you can test basically everything with one hash. That's very useful.
Daniel led us down the path of making sure that we sealed our blocks a bit, and then that forced us down a path of checking how we did sealing. And then I think we opened an issue based on Daniel's request, and that was a very useful exercise. And then so we're eager to get back to the details of block sealing. So I think that's something which we thought should deserve its own community test vectors, but we're not 100% sure whether we actually got everything right. So we're waiting for feedback from all of you to see what you guys say about our block ceiling.
Okay,
What
so
about
I guess most
Yeah.
of the team are just super, far away from from such questions.
What about a completely different side? So for Quick, I think what I thought was possible at Bangkok, it didn't turn out to be possible, which is multiple teams sharing their networked implementations. Meaning, we would have our Go connect to your thing in Elixir or Rust or whatnot, and that hasn't happened yet. So but a couple of the teams said, hey, here's my specific client's way of talking Quick, and I thought maybe there should be some repo where everybody's client implementations attempting to send, I don't know what it is, C128 or Up0 or something like that. At least there could be like 5 or 6 canonical implementations so that other implementations could say, oh yes, I can also speak Up0 and CE whatever 128. And that could be a useful thing to help everybody make sure they can speak Quick to each other. Dave Emmett gave us some feedback on something that we published, that we used little endian instead of big endian, or the other way around. So it might be useful to have a GitHub repo for client-specific canonical limitations, but it sort of requires all of us to huddle together like this and figure it out. Does anybody want to contribute something, a repo with a bunch of client code along these lines?
So you mean like having library for Quick implementation for each language? And so
it would just be, it would basically a place where we say, yes, out of these 5 or 6 or whatever number of languages that they can all talk, we know that they all can talk to each other. So therefore the n+1th contribution would have to be able to talk to previous n. And that way we're not debating whether we got our Quick rights, Quick implementations right on a point-to-point basis.
Okay.
We could start with n equals 2 and then go to 3 and then 4, and it would snowball into a bigger and bigger numbers, so that the 10th, there would be no debate about correctness of the n+1th. So I was thinking about starting that, but it is an M2 type goal rather than M1 type goal.
Yeah, I feel like it's starting to creep, maybe not 100% there, but starting to creep towards like the benefits of a long running test network, or like where you have long running nodes that you can, I mean, even if it's just a like request response protocol, right? Like if you have a long running node that you know that this implementation has the correct Quick implementation, that you can, instead of like having to clone a repo and test compatibility there, you can just start your local node and connect it to a long running node and just see that the request response protocol is working correctly. But that's all, I don't know at what point we feel like introducing stuff like that and where it's like actually useful to do so.
Yeah, I would maybe suggest to take a look on how this is done in libp2p, because it's kind of the same challenge that they faced to check the compatibility among different implementations. So they have interop framework, something like that. I think it's written in TypeScript, and then different implementations can basically adapt their implementation so that this framework can actually use it, and then it basically can use either. Basically, this framework can interact with, for example, Quick library through, I don't know, CLI or some RPC to, for example, send some command. For example, send this message over this protocol to this peer, and that way it checks compatibility. I'll try to find the link and share it here, how it's done in libp2p. So yeah, maybe we can grab some ideas there.
Yeah, I mean, I also thought about doing something similar, but I mean, much easier, just adding some CLI commands to our node that are like, I don't know, network initiate request 128 or whatever, and then you have another command that's just like listen or something, and then you can see that the request 128 or something works. Just like very simple, some basic commands for every request and some listening. I mean, I will do this anyway, probably for debugging our node, but yeah, I guess what Camille just mentioned is probably similar.
I think it would be awesome, Oliver, if you could share your notes in a way that's are compatible with the immature libp2b type things. That would be inspirational.
Yeah, I will check it out to see how much work it is to integrate it. Otherwise, the first thing I will do is probably just do these simple CLI commands to test it locally or over the Wi-Fi or over a VPN, see if it breaks.
At the end of the day, I think there's only 2 or 3 teams that have fellows on them, I forget what your rank you are, but all the high-ranking fellows who will ultimately grade our M1 and M2. We'd like to know what tests we're supposed to pass exactly. So if you kind of spec out the M2 details, then we kind of have a good guess about what's going on with M1. But for M2, I think that's kind of like that's part of the reason why it would be inspirational. We know what tests we're supposed to pass for the quick next level.
I think there's this grant delivery repository, which will probably be a bit more elaborate on this. Besides, just the few words on the GemPrice website, I guess they will compile a list in this delivery repo to at least have public test vectors. Sure, they have some private ones that they won't show anyone, but yeah, I think that's the one linked.
There is actually already one team submitted the PR with the full implementation for the first one.
Yeah, but that's bullshit because gray paper is not yet finalized.
Yeah. But I'm more curious that I actually never saw these guys, never heard about them. Okay, I believe we finished with networking. I'm not sure if Sirabi was covering a bunch of topics, so is there anything else you want to cover from the agenda? Like, I believe you covered import blocks and CLI chain spec, right?
I touched on them all. If anybody wants to talk through any ideas related to that, speak up. Michael, did you want to speak through what you want to talk to? Michael, are you still here on import blocks?
Yes, I'm still here on import blocks. So I don't have much to share specifically for import blocks at this moment. What I have been working on is something that will work along with the import blocks, which is fuzzing. So basically, I'm just setting up the internal structure that's needed in order to properly fuzz a block. So, and because so far we have not seen other people's published blocks with their state, like a state transition. So we're using our own format as a starting point. So when we have an import block endpoint, we are potentially expecting a KV dump for the previous state plus the new block for me to fuzz on. Additionally, in order to properly seal the newly mutated block, I need a set of known private key in order to resign this, like every individual component of that block. So we are using what we have mentioned earlier. Oliver probably give a format of private keys that that's probably in the doc. So we're using that set of private keys for the fuzzing. So I'm not ready to share the details today because it's still in progress, but it's pretty much done. Perhaps in the next call, I can provide more details on how to actually fuzz a block. In terms of community test vector, we did some updates to make the signing process more reasonable. So what we did actually work whatever the signing mechanism on our previous community test vector. So if you just re-import our blocks and try to re-verify again, it should throw an error right away, simply because we changed the way we signed it. And I'm not 100% sure we're signing it correctly. So ideally, if any of you guys want to do cross verification with us, we can also try to verify your blocks and see if we arrive at the same answer. But if you're just using our import blocks or our published STF for verification, very likely you will not be able to verify right now because it's just something totally different. That's the update I have for now.
Cool. Any other topics? Yeah.
Well, so Jamzik team also built kind of, let's say, a block generator. Also based on, I think it's a little bit the same as what you're building, Michael. I try to, let's say, import the test vectors, right? But I'm missing a crucial piece of state. Let's say that the test blocks, let's say, that were generated by Gemduna, but it misses a crucial piece of state, so I cannot really, let's say, from the beginning, I cannot really import them, right? I also mentioned this, so maybe I don't know if that's fixed already.
So I don't fully understand your question. What specific state you are missing?
I will send an update for this, right? Because it's in the, let's say, it is a little detail. Let's say, I'm missing a part of the state in the state dumps, right? So which I cannot reproduce from just reading kind of the hash or the state. Let's say that the state hash more you produced, right? But that's another thing. But on the so as I understand correctly, you're making kind of a block producer, right? Which simulates a whole network and produces essentially like for example, for a tiny network, all individual blocks. Is that correct?
Why don't I give a quick tour just to get on the same page? So I'm looking at, this is a one of the state transitions, and sorry about that. And so what we have in this, and this is just an idea, you guys can improve on it and tell us how to do it better, is we have a pre-state where all of the 15 plus a few key value pairs of the state in Jam are there. So there's like the key, the value, and then we added, because it's insane not to have this, we added a little bit of metadata, like what's going on, like what is this key about? Oh, it's an A_S thing. And we added the sufficient information to basically reason about how, using this, you can basically generate the key and the value. So this is just engineer or developer friendly. And you can see we have like different kinds of service account type data, and then the raw data that would be sufficient to generate that, generate the key and the value, as well as the world famous C1 through C15. So if you have every single key value pair of the state, you or anybody like us, we can derive the state root, both for the pre-state as well as after you process your block state transition with the header and all the tickets of all the different varieties, you should be able to arrive at the post state. So if there is some key missing state, or like something you're not getting right, or you think we got wrong, then what we're hoping you can do is tell us, oh, you got everything right except C whatever, C4 in this case, and then that way we can have a debate about not like a whole sequence of like 40 or 50 state transitions, but a very specific one, so that, and we can have an intelligent conversation about, oh, you got this specific thing wrong in this storage or lookup or whatever item, And yeah, I think that'll allow us to have. We're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to get towards perfection in order to get those things. And then it extends down to, if you've got all those things right, then can you derive the state root pre and post? And can you go from the block to the state transition, and can you sign the block and so forth? So we have all. I think we believe we have what we need to reason about it, and in this modern 5.4 state transition vector. And if you think we missed a step, we are eager to fix it and republish everything we have.
Let me check the latest version, because let's say what I believe was in the account pre-image, right? And that key, you have to actually also kind of, let's say, generate the availability, right? And let's say that part was kind of really difficult to reproduce, because what I actually started doing was trying to, from the hash, let's say the dictionary you published, I was reverse engineering all the values of the state actually, so reverse importing it. And there was missing one little thing, and then I stopped because I had other things to do.
Oh, okay.
But yeah.
So let's get into it. So sorry, we weren't available as much during this break, but yeah, our team at least is all back in action and eager to do great things in January.
Cool.
So yeah.
So the other part is, let's say, so I'm also, let's say, creating a block, let's say, generator, which also simulates kind of a, let's say, tiny network, which can also be a big one, and let's say it's just parameterized. So maybe we could do a session to see if our blocks can both be validated against each other, right? But then I would prefer like a shorter feedback loop. So if then somebody would be able to, let's say, maybe we plan a session and we really like do it like quick, if you know what I mean. Like I produce something, you try to import and see if there's a mismatch, and we can fix it immediately. Because let's say 2 weeks is a long time, let's say, or to wait for a week for a response is, let's say, it doesn't work well to converge very quickly to let's say that we're on the same page, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think monthly is way too slow for point-to-point, team-to-team attempts to do what you said was validation, and so I don't. Maybe you could have groups of 3, but just point-to-point between, say, your team and ours, or any 2 teams trying to get compatibility.
That would be ideal. That would be ideal. Yeah. So maybe we can plan a session, right? So that we can both generate. Maybe we need a little bit of pre-coordination on how do we actually generate the private keys. We can of course use the gem chain documentation, right? And then from there, actually, we should be able to start with the same genesis and try to figure out if we're exactly the same or not.
I think that's very reasonable. I think there was this concern that not you, but other teams had, like, if you have these individual conversations happening in private, is that collusion? And I'm not. Our group doesn't believe believe that kind of checking is kind of, all that is within the rules of the gray paper. So I think the whatever collaborations and learnings 2 teams have. We could do it in a group, in a wide group setting, and that way, when 2 teams discover something new, the rest of the several dozen others can also see it. That's kind of like why I thought having a Jam 0 and a Telegram Jam testnet, whatever it's called, would enable everybody to see the same things, but not too many point-to-point discussions. But it's really a stylistic choice. How teams?
I don't know. It's more about kind of, let's say, so if you try to do this with, for example, 6, right? Let's say in a call, then it will become, I think, maybe pretty complicated. It's an interesting one, Let's say either you do it point to point, or you do it with 3, or do it 4 or 5.
Our experience so far has been, Daniel or you give us something where we look like we have a bug, we fix it, and then 2 days later we publish it. And so that's kind of a cadence that I think our team can meet. It's very hard to like debug it on the fly within an hour and get it right. Maybe you're super fast because you manage everything almost single-handedly. But yeah, for a multi-person team, it's challenging to do it on the fly within a call, but realistic to do on a 1 to 2 day cadence.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense indeed. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's think about it.
Cool. Happy to work with you in whatever way you'd like to, and we hope that other team members can all work together point to point or as a group setting. That's awesome. Okay, so once we do our next call, can we wrap up with? I think I wanted to keep this at 90 minutes with you guys. Can we decide that the next call should be exactly the second Tuesday of February or something like that?
Yeah, we can do this. Let's try to keep up with the second Tuesday of each month, right?
What is the second Tuesday? It's February 11th. If you literally implemented that.
Yep. Sounds like a good plan to me. So yeah, we'll share the recording in our Matrix channel. So I also will ask if people find we can create a YouTube channel. I can add a timing, and so we can create a Gem0 YouTube channel and like post it there. So maybe we can gain more community people joining, and where I believe it will be good for us as more and more contributors will be joining. Right, so we have 5 minutes left. If maybe anyone have any last questions to ask, or maybe last topics we need to discuss. No, then I guess thank you everyone very much for your attention and for your attendance. It was really nice to see all the new faces and faces I already seen. I believe the exciting future waits for Gem. And so let's all make happen. Basically, we are making it happening. So thank you, everyone. And I'll see you around.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good to see you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.